I am learning things about me and my seasons and my cycles at age 44 from my teen daughter. She had a sleepover, unexpected one, the other day. And one of the girls, it was unexpected because it was a storm. And so they were having a girls' night, and then the storm came in, and like big storm, big thunder, lightning, rain. And so the girls all unexpectedly stayed over. And as with any group of teen girls, one of them was in the bleeding part of her cycle. And I overheard one of the other girls say, "Don't you Bluetooth me?" And I thought, strange thing to say to one of your friends, "Don't you Bluetooth me?" And later on we were talking about it, and my husband went, "I got it immediately." He said, "And I'm not even female." And Scout's, "Mum, when you Bluetooth someone, it means you sync up with them. You see, when I start bleeding, you sync up with me." Sometimes I was like, it's actually a really great description of what happens, right? You Bluetooth it to somebody else. I was at boarding school when I was Scarlett's age, so we were Bluetoothing each other all the time. And I think I've taken way too long, maybe it was just we didn't have the knowledge, we didn't share it in the same way we do, to understand my own cycles. And I finally got my head around them in my early 40s, mainly because I was getting my head around it so I could start to explain it to Scarlett and the impact it would have on her creativity and her strength and her brain function. And obviously, as we went further through the journey, the recognition of our neurodiversity and how the hormonal part impacts that piece so much as well. I finally figured it out, and I went into perimenopause, and most of it's gone up the whoop in terms of a rhythmic season. I can still track it based on other factors, but the timing's not so much. Why am I talking about menstrual cycles? It's relevant because if you're listening to me, it's a pretty good chance you're female. You might have been raising some smaller versions of you that might be female. And yeah, look, I educated myself because I had a daughter, and I was like, I'm going to try and fill some gaps that maybe weren't filled for me. But seasons have become really important, not just our cycle, but seasons have become really important to me in the way that we think about business. I had to go and look this up. There's this phrase I kept coming back to, and I wanted to see where it had come from, and I looked it up, and it came from a Bible passage, Ecclesiastes, of all places. To everything there is a season. I grew up on a farm. Winter passes, autumn comes, it's lambing season, it's time to make the hay, now it's time to feed out the hay. It became something that was very comfortable for us. It also became that phrase, to everything there is a season, everything passes, this too shall pass. Like with the cycles, menstrual cycles, it took me an embarrassing long time to realize that this phrase is also an operating instruction for a business. I spent years demanding the same output from myself in March as I did in July. Same pace, same output targets, same standards, same availability, even though March felt harder than June. I would constantly beat myself up and say, I just need to be more disciplined, I need to be more consistent, I need to better habits. But it wasn't a discipline problem. When I want to be, I can be really disciplined. It was the way that I built it into my business, and I was paying for it in all the ways. The version of success that business media, social media sells culturally is this flat line. Consistent output, consistent availability, consistent growth, every week, roughly the same as last week, except slightly bigger, no dips, no quieter patches, no seasons where you deliberately do less. Just this flat line going up and to the right. That model, what they're selling you, that version of success, just wasn't built for us, full stop. It's not built for someone who is also running a household with its own calendar, or multiple calendars in most of our cases, and its own seasons, footy season and horse riding season and musical season. It wasn't built for a woman whose biology operates in cycles rather than flat lines. It wasn't built for someone whose children's needs shift dramatically across school terms, across ages, across years. Sacred Seasons is the accelerator that asks, what season are you actually in right now, and are you operating accordingly? for you, there are 3 seasonal systems running simultaneously in your life at all times. There's your biological seasons, hormonal and energetic cycles that govern our creative capacity, our strategic thinking, the quality of your ideas, your capacity for connection, your physical strength, your mental strength, your emotional capacity for your husband's chewing and breathing, your capacity to emotionally regulate for the humans in your business and the humans in your home. You have your domestic seasons, school terms and holidays, depending on the age and stage of your kids and what they're going through, and the family transitions. They all carry their own weight. Your parents, maybe your brothers and sisters and their kids. Certainly if you're getting into, my mum will kill me, so will my dad for saying this, but that aging parents category, which they're not. My parents are such fit, young, I think dad's 70 this year and mum's 69. I still look at them and go, they're 40 and I'm 20, which I'm clearly not 20, but I still feel like that about them. But not that long ago, in the last month, dad ended up having a full aortic bypass. They split him from here to here and took a, oh, tell me I've got it wrong, it's not a vein, it's probably an artery. I can't even think. They take the thing out of his leg and fix him up. And he's popping around like an energy bunny, but my domestic season's impacted by that. We've got Johnny's parents to think about, and they might not necessarily want us to butt in. It's definitely something that preys on your mind, right? So you've got these domestic seasons where you know that you're not responsible for those adults that raised you. And for most of us, we have a relationship with them that we would like to maintain. In my case, I'm not saying my parents were perfect, but I certainly had a pretty good start in most things. And if I can help them, I'd like to be able to help them. And so that's part of my domestic season. What's going on for your partner? What's going on for Johnny and his health? We had a really rough season with that not that long ago. A friend from back home, actually the people we bought the boat off, is having a bit of a rough season at the moment. But she asked after us and I said, oh, it actually feels like with Johnny's health, we're coming out the other side of that season, and that's taking a load off. And so your domestic seasons really matter, and the people that are in that domestic situation with you carry their seasonality, their chapters, what's going on for them impacts and creates weight for you in a way that you actually have to think about when you are looking at building your life and business for generations. And then lastly, your business seasons. There's phases when you're launching something new, and then there's phases when you are consolidating what you've done, and there are phases when you want to be growing, and there are phases when you're maintaining, and there's phases when you're pulling things apart and quietly rebuilding them. And sometimes there's times when you just have to pause and do a little less in the business. And so the business has seasons. It might even have natural seasonality in it. We have our boat business. It's incredibly busy with customers from October through April. It's incredibly busy with maintenance for kind of the 8 weeks leading up to October. And then the rest of the year is not got customer busyness in it. It's got other work. There's seasonality in our businesses that might look like that. I've got some clients whose market all take that big Christmas, New Year's holiday off, and others that don't. You have a business seasonality that exists in your world as well. Failure mode in your business isn't operating in any one of those seasons badly. The failure mode is actually overriding all 3 simultaneously, and then wondering why you feel depleted in a way that sleep doesn't actually fix. I think we're getting better at this, but I think some of this is the way that we were taught about our cycles. I had a conversation about this the other day, and I was saying how with Scarlett, we're talking about she might need more fuel when she's bleeding, and then she might be able to do more and lift more and be stronger at the gym the week after her bleed. But in the week leading up to her bleed, she might want to do less, eat less, and relax more, and that we're happy to flow with that. And the woman I was chatting with about it, she was like, oh, when my daughter was that age, I just told her to take a Panadol, suck it up and get on with it. That's exactly the overriding I'm talking about. For you and I, we're getting better at it. Like I said at the start, I'm getting better at it right when my cycle disappears. Hopefully. That's the good bit, right? It's going to go. Hasn't yet. That right as I got good at and stopped overriding it. It's changed on me again. We got used to overriding it, taking a couple of Panadol and just walking through it. I always laugh so hard at the period cramp simulator videos online. And these guys are on number 2 and they're like, I've got to go back to bed. They can't function. They can't even walk around the kitchen. And you just think, we've got so good at holding that as normal. So we override the seasonality of our bodies. We diminish, certainly I did, in talking with other friends in the same season of life, in perimenopause, we describe it as, well, I just don't feel like myself, or I'm just not okay. But what a diminishing of what for me has been a really horrific experience in my own body. It feels so traitorous in that moment. Your head, your emotions, everything. And just to diminish it down to, I'm just not okay. Just don't feel like myself. And that's that overriding that we've been taught to do culturally. Then the business world culturally teaches us to override all of that, all of the hormonal personal seasons, all of our domestic seasons, and to run our business in a way that doesn't work for us at all. That's why we're exhausted and tired. You can't sleep that off. You're depleted because nothing's being built around those sacred seasons. Here's what changes when you actually start to work with your season. In expansion seasons where your energy is high and ideas are clear and the capacity is genuinely available to you, those are the seasons that you can push, to build, to launch something new, to grow. The output in a real expansion season, when you know you're in one, is extraordinary because you're not fighting your own biology to produce it. You're going to have consolidation seasons where the energy is a bit quieter and you're integrating what you've built. Maybe the family needs more. Creative output gets to be lower. These are seasons that we really strengthen what exists. We're not forcing new growth. Then there's a recovery season, the one that the business market almost universally ignores. These are not the absence of work. They're a productive season with a different output. What builds in recovery is internal structure, architecture, clarity, the renewed conviction about what the next step is actually for. A recovery season used properly is what makes the next level even better than the last one, the next expansion even better. The problem is that most women running businesses have been told, explicitly in some cases, implicitly in almost all cases, that a quieter season is a season that you're failing, that slower means behind, that any season that doesn't look like growth or scale is a season being wasted, is time being wasted. That belief is behind so much of what burns us out. Specifically the women I work with who are operating at full capacity across multiple domains and being told to keep the flat line going regardless of what season they're actually in. Part of the problem is that you're trying to meet that line all the time and it's just not realistic for you. Your business has to be designed around your actual seasons, and there's lots of them. It shouldn't apologize for them. It should design around them. Because the businesses that last are the ones whose leaders, the ones whose owners are still standing sustainably, not little puddles on the floor. The question the team's given me is, how do you expand sales without doing more hours? How do you grow the top line of the business without working more hours? Those two are not implicitly linked. Your sales revenue should not be tied to the number of hours that you work. And if it is, there are a number of structural pieces that we need to change. The first one is, if you are, and I hope you're not, but you might be. If you are selling your time by hour-long units, I'll give you an hour of my time for 100, 200, 500 bucks, because there's lots of service industries where that is the case. We want to do our very, very, very best to get away from that. I had a client today, Bless her, love her. She's had this experience a couple of times now. She originally got approached to do a job and they told her, when she went back with her hourly rate, they told her they only had in the budget $100 an hour for this work that needed to be done. It was quite a big event, piece of work. And I went, well, but they're not interested in buying your time. They're interested in you getting a result for them, taking some pain away that they don't know how to do in the systems that you're really smart at, and getting these outputs. The only reason that they care what they're paying you per hour and how long it takes you to do is because they're an employee, and so they look at what they're going to pay you per hour and compare it to what they're getting paid. And if it's too much in their eyes, they don't want to pay it. You don't want them to do that comparison. You want them to look at the value you create, the result you create, the pain that you take away, and value that, which is completely different. How long it takes you is really irrelevant, because the better you get at something, the smarter you get at something, the quicker you get at applying leverage in terms of team members and technology, the faster you'll be, the less hours it will take. Why the hell should you get paid less because you're better? That's just nuts to me. That's the first one. If you're exchanging time for money, that's got to go. You've really got to be able to explicitly tie the way you sell your services to an outcome, not how many hours you're working on something. The other thing you need to think about is, I build businesses around your life. If you know implicitly upfront the hours you want to work, the timings you want to work. We've just been talking about sacred seasons. I've got clients that only work during the school term. They only work 9:30 till 2:30 during the school term. And yes, they do. They take the summer holidays off. Now, are they taking home $1 million a year? No. But they're there all school holidays, fully present. They take their kids to school in the morning? Yes. Are they home at 3 o'clock? Are they the toast lady on Friday? Yes. They go in and they make toast for the kids at school on Friday morning. Why? Because for her, it's more important that she can be toast lady so that when her kids are teenagers, they will hang out at her house. Like, my house is going to be invaded tonight by a whole lot of teen girls. We wanted to be that house. I wanted to be that parent. I want to be the place where all the kids feel safe to come and hang out. The second bit of this is that we have to structure your weekly hours around what you want from your business, not what sales you want to make. And then we make the sales fit that. The first lever is time for money. Don't do that. Second lever is, well, figure out what it is you actually want to do. And maybe you're not going to get to taking all the school holidays off right away, but if that's what you're working to, you're going to have to figure out how to make your sales happen in that. That's going to take some clever thinking about how you use your seasons, because now the school terms have become one of your very explicit work seasons. And I think that's a fun way of doing it. The kids are working at learning and educating, and you're working on your business, and everybody knows that's the season for work, so that we get these really cool seasons for fun when the holidays come around. How cool is that? Expanding sales, expanding revenue, creating that growth without increasing your weekly hours is about getting really clear that those two things are not linked. How much I work and how much money I make are not linked together. And I have explicit boundaries and rules around my hours and when I will work and the seasons I will work, and I'm not going to break them in order to make more sales. And what those two things do is they make you get scrappier and more resourceful, because you've got more limited resource once you've put that stuff in place. You have to get smart about what you're doing. Then we start to look at, where are the places that I can leverage what I'm doing that don't require me in every transaction? Where are the places that I can sell extra stuff that doesn't require more of my time? Maybe this is leveraging through employees or contractors. Maybe this is leveraging through tech. But underneath this question, and it's a really great question, because most of the women I work with are trying to get more sales, grow the business without adding hours, attempt to do that assigned to the wrong season. Be really mindful of it. Be really mindful of what's going on for you, for your household, and for the business. And think about getting that growth, getting that sales expansion period getting that growth, getting that increase in sales must always happen during an expansion season. If you try to do this kind of growth during a consolidation or recovery season, it's going to come unstuck. And the work will feel harder. It'll feel like swimming through mud. And then you're going to go, oh, it's the business model is wrong. When actually all it is just is the timing is wrong. Revenue expansion is expansion season work. It requires your full creative and strategic capacity. If you're currently in a season anywhere where that capacity isn't available, school holidays, a sicky season at home, period where your own house isn't doing things for you, the most intelligent thing you can do in order to grow your sales long term is not try to expand it in one of those seasons. Use that season to consolidate, to make that structure ready to go for the expansion, because then when you grow back in an expansion season, you can move really fast because everything's ready. That's not delay, that's working with the actual material, the actual capacity, the actual resources that you have. The first one is unlink the thinking about sales and hours being linked together. Until you unlink those two, everything else can be tricky. Secondly, you have to set your own boundaries for your time and your seasons. If you haven't done that, this becomes really difficult to do. And then the third thing is expansion happens in expansion seasons because you need that creativity. Make sure you're aligning growth in the business with your seasons. That expansion season needs to be there so that you've got the creativity, the strategic thinking, the clarity to do that. Not just put your prices up, find better clients, charge more. That shit doesn't work. What season are you actually in right now? Not the one you wish you were in. I know we all wish that we could be in those expansion seasons all the time. Like, honestly, taking into consideration your cycle, your seasons, the domestic seasons, and the business seasons, know where you actually are right now. Because when we're really honest about it, then we can work with it. The directions are completely different from different locations, from different seasons. So be honest about where you're at, and it makes it easier. And then ask, is my current structure and week designed for that season? Or is it designed for a different one? Next episode, we're talking rhythm. What your business pace is broadcasting to everyone around you. Your employees, your children, customers and clients, without you saying a single word about it. One of the most practical and surprising ones we've done so far. Till next time, stay Moxie.